Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Trying to check and what's on the right microphone. We'll start to show off. Fantastic. You are with the Chiefs Digest live Q&A. I am Matt Derrick. Our good friend Nick Jacobs will be joining us later. Right now, he's putting the finishing touches on his draft board, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. Obviously, if you've been following along on 41 is the mic. You've been getting some insight into how Nick views some of the key positions, especially ones that the Chiefs may be interested in targeting. I think we've pretty much gone over everything except the quarterback position. Touched on them all a little bit. Most recent episode was over with dealing with cornerbacks, safeties, and linebackers. If you haven't listened to that one yet, so definitely check that out as far as your draft preview of getting ready for next week, and you'll see how Nick breaks them all down. But his total final draft board, ranking all the positions, I got a little bit of a sneak preview of part of it earlier this evening, and I can't wait to see the whole thing because Nick puts more time. The two people that I personally know that watch the most film and spend the most time this time of year on watching the draft prospects and breaking everything down are Nick and Ryan Tracy over at Locked On Chiefs. They are absolute grinders. And Nick, I think I know from talking to Ryan earlier, no knock on Ryan. I know Nick watched more players this year, but Ryan's got some help over there. Nick over at KSHB does it all by himself. So, and he does a great job with it. He's nailed some Chiefs picks in the past, and probably a few picks that if the Chiefs had listened to Nick's board, they might have made even better picks. So I'm always looking forward to that. And maybe Nick will be able to give us a preview tonight and answer some questions about how he's got everybody stacked. We're 9 days out, and there's still hasn't been a lot of movement on the trade front or discussions and everything. I mean, it's starting to get a little bit solidified about how the top picks might be and who those players might be. I think you have a pretty good sense of who the top 4 or 5 players are going to be, and then after that, it really gets to be a bit of a crapshoot, and that's probably. I don't know if you feel like it's more this year than maybe in past years. It's. I think it's going to be a lively first round. We'll see if it ends up in resulting in a lot of trades. At this point, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we are still at everybody in their God-given draft order. There have not been any trades of first-round picks yet, which is, I believe, the latest that this has ever been that we've been gone, where everybody has their own first-round pick. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if that's going to lead to a lot more trades on draft night with teams jostling for position, trying to get where they want to get the player that they like, and continually being asked about who the Chiefs are going to take. And I was actually texting with a member of the Chiefs front office this evening about that. And we were both like, hey, wait a minute. I mean, at 31, how do you know who's going to be available there? The Chiefs, as always, I mean, they've got their 16 to 18 players that they've got first round grades on in that ballpark. And then after that, everybody's a second round grade. So that's pretty typical. So if you stick at 31, chances are you're going to get a player you got a second round grade on. It's just how good of a grade and whether that player really fits one of your needs. So I haven't sensed any changes. I mean, I think the Chiefs are still likely to take one of the premium positions that we've been talking about: defensive line, defensive tackle, defensive end, corner, offensive line, specifically tackle. There's not a lot of left tackles in this class that we've been continuing to talk about. Josh Simmons is the one that's getting the most attention. Obviously, the Chiefs had him in for a visit over the weekend, and we are hearing from Brett Veach on Thursday, so maybe we'll see if he'll give us any bit of a scouting report on what he saw. I mean, obviously, he's not going to tell us too much, but I can say at least the rumors and the reports out there with some of his visits around the league has been that he's been looking pretty good. Now, I think it's important to remember that, you're not technically allowed to have players do workout specific at these 30 visits. So, what they do, there was a little bit more of his pro day, and there's a brief clip of him doing something, but he didn't do a lot of his pro day. But at least the rumor is the people who have seen him do some work have said that he looks good, better than they expected at this point. So does that put him on the board for the Chiefs? It's a good question. I mean, he's invited to be one of the participants, people at the draft on Thursday night next week. That is always an indication of what teams, the NFL believes is going to be first round picks. And they don't like to cut it close anymore. I mean, they've been there before. So if they're inviting somebody to be at the draft, they're fairly confident that that player is going to be gone by 31. So we'll see if that's the case. We'll see if that's the case this year, but will be interesting to see how it all shakes out. And Luttrell, you kick it off with the could it be? It is. Hooray, hooray. It is Q&A day. Appreciate that as always. Got any questions? I think that's probably it for my opening monologue. As Brian always points out, appreciate you, Brian, as the hype man here for us. Hit the like button if you haven't before. If you're joining on Twitter, obviously, if you aren't following me or Nick on Twitter, you should do that so you get to find out whenever we are going live and be able to follow us for all of our draft coverage. There's a lot of things. Things have been kind of quiet at Chiefs Digest lately because I've been doing some things behind the scene. Those will be evident here in the next couple of days. So I think there's some things going on that I hope you will all enjoy. And for those of you who follow along on YouTube, you'll get a notification on YouTube that maybe you should go over to the website and check some things out here in the next couple of days. So be on the alert for that. But we got a lot of great draft coverage coming up, not just on the website, but on the podcast as well. Nick and I have 4 episodes of 41 is the mic scheduled for next week with the draft preview on Sunday, where we're going to be doing our probably final. I think it's a final for Nick. It might be my next to last mock draft. I'm going to have a couple of mock drafts next week with some different scenarios. So Sundays might not be my final, but it's going to be at least my penultimate. There'll be one final Chiefs draft, and I'm also going to go way out of the limb and see how stupid I look doing a first round. I have not done one of these. I don't think I've done one of these I've done these as a fan predicting the first round before. And so I know how hard it is. But I'm going to take a shot at projecting the first round for every team this year. And we'll see how good I do. Like I said, I feel halfway decent about maybe the first 4 or 5 picks. After that, I think it's going to get a little dicey. But you're going to get a lot of content from Nick and I next week. We will keep you up to date on it, whether you're following us on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, which you are all could be watching us on live tonight. And fire away with your questions. So like I said, Nick will be in here a little bit later. Until he arrives, I will do my best to tell you what I know. If you want insight on specific draft picks, Nick is going to be the better expert on a lot of that because he's watched more film than I have. He's the true expert. So I might if you have a question specifically about some of the prospects, I might wait till Nick gets here to handle those because I think you wouldn't want to hear from him. So fire away. And I'll go to Bobby. There was a lot of smoke from NFL analysts about Josh Simmons and the Chiefs. And in this combine interview and now a 30 visit, is it realistic the Chiefs draft him or maybe trade up for him? I mean, I think it's realistic, Bobby. I don't think it's completely out of the picture, especially because of just some of the things you've been hearing. I think that the bigger thing with Josh Simmons, honestly, is if he's available at the spot where the Chiefs would be comfortable going to go get him. Here's the deal with him is that he is certainly healthy, would be the number 1 left tackle pick in this draft. He might be the only legitimate left tackle in this draft. But the health is the question. My question is, can the Chiefs be the team that takes a chance on him? Is he a good fit? Not necessarily as much scheme, but because the Chiefs have a relatively immediate need. They've got Jalen Moore. They've signed him. I mean, they have to feel reasonably comfortable about that matching and that pairing with bringing Jalen Moore in, because if that fails, I mean, it's a $21 million failure. You don't want that blemish on the resume. So the Chiefs have a reason to believe that Jalen Moore can get them by for this year. And that's what they would absolutely have to have if you draft Josh Simmons, because he is probably not going to contribute this year. I mean, you really need to treat that as a redshirt year with his injury. The question to me is just, whether the Chiefs can be the team that takes that chance, because there's going to be a ton of pressure on this next left tackle. And that's why I think it'll be tough for Jalen Moore. It's going to be tough for whomever is the next Chiefs left tackle. And honestly, it's going to be probably tough for whomever is the next left tackle after that, because whether, it's Jalen Moore or, there's somebody else who's the left tackle in 2026, I mean, there's going to be a ton of pressure on that pick. And that's why I just question whether or not it's right fit for a player coming off an injury who needs to have a redshirt year and really won't be having a rookie year until 2026. And then is going to would be in a significant spotlight. I just don't know if that's a fair place to put, a rookie and a young player. Like I said, I mean, because he will ostensibly be a rookie. Perhaps, I mean, he might not do anything as a rookie this year. I mean, he could inconceivably finish the entire year on non-football injury. I mean, he was injured in football, but if it's a college injury that you're coming into, you would be placed on the non-football injury list, and he would be on that until he's cleared. I mean, if he's not cleared this year to play, then he would be on that non-football injury list, and as a result would essentially be a rookie in 2026. And is that fair? Is that a reasonable expectation, or is it just too much to put on a young kid? I think it's a tough spot to put on a young kid coming off an injury to be in that spotlight. If the Chiefs think he can handle it, there's no reason not to take him. If they think that he's 100% healthy, there's no fear of anything with that knee or the other knee. Unfortunately, there are some correlations between injuring one patella tendon and injuring the other. We've seen, I can't remember who it was. There have been a couple of NFL players who have had bilateral patella tendon tears, which is rupturing both of them. And that is brutal. I've ruptured both of mine. Luckily they were 10 years apart. So this is the one injury that I unfortunately have a lot of firsthand experience with and research about how it recovers. And I've kind of invested myself a little bit into it from the NFL side of things, because I've covered several players that have had that injury. And that's a tough thing, is that most players who get this injury are not the same again. Now, the rumors with Josh is that this was not a complete tear, that the repair went well, and that he has been great in his recovery and rehab. So if those are all things true and he's healthy, it's realistic for the Chiefs to draft him. Right now, it's actually going so well, I would say, from what we're hearing, and certainly from him being invited to the draft, that I think it might be, is it realistic that he's available to the Chiefs? And they might have to trade up for him, Bobby. And then you trade up to get Josh Simmons, that puts even more pressure on him. So I'll be interested. I mean, I'm kind of trying to figure out when I do my mock draft this next week for the entire first round. I'll be curious to see where I kind of end up slotting Josh Simmons, because I imagine when I go through it, I think I'm going to end up slotting him before the Chiefs draft. And the question is, are the Chiefs, interested in trading up? Are they interested in staying at 31, maybe trading back and picking up more draft picks? I think there's going to be a few options for them. So the short answer, the Cliff Notes answer to that, my question on that one, Bobby, is that I think it's realistic for the Chiefs to draft him. I'm just not sure if he's going to be there or if it's the right perfect fit. So Chris is ham on top on Sunday for the Ham family. Thank you for remembering that. I once said that we're a ham family for Christmas. Yeah. You know what? I mean, my family, both as kids and my current family as an adult, I mean, Easter is not a super big family holiday, so we don't get together as a group or anything. The only thing I desperately want on Easter Sunday, just because it's Easter, I want deviled eggs. I mean, that makes sense. And so I may have to make my own deviled eggs this weekend, but I can't really say that I've got a specific, main dish there, Chris. So I'm trying to remember as a kid. I mean, the only thing I really remember about Easter as a kid was, getting chocolate and getting chocolate Easter eggs and Reese's peanut butter cups and Reese's bunnies. I mean, my mom always made sure I had a Reese's peanut butter bunny. And let's face it, that thing was usually gone by the end of Easter day. So I just remember eating chocolate and peanut butter on Easter and deviled eggs. I don't remember anything else as a kid about Easter. But Not planning any ham, maybe some ham sandwiches at best, Chris. So, Cole, would Josh Connerly be a good fit for the Chiefs at left tackle? And if so, do you think he falls to the Chiefs? I do. I mean, Connerly, I'm fairly comfortable. I think there's only going to be. I mean, here's the thing. The consensus is that Armin Mimbu and Will Campbell will probably be the first two tackles off the board, unless that like we're talking about with I'm trying to look at this, see if I realized my Adobe crashed, so my draft board that I had up is not available to me, so that's why I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. Yeah, I would say, I mean, Connerly, I think, would be available. I think it's a question of, whether or not one that the Chiefs, anybody, feels like he's going to be a left tackle, or, whether he's going to be a right tackle or a guard. That's the thing about this draft, is that the two biggest, draft picks at the top of the board are going to be most likely, Mimbu and Campbell. And I mean, the projection on both of them is that they're probably right tackles. I know, Campbell played left, but he projects more as a right tackle, it looks like, to most teams in the NFL. And, so I think that's probably a better indication about where I would see him falling. I think being at 31, yes, he would be available for the Chiefs, I think, at that spot. And I'll save this to you for Nick to bring it back up, and we can talk about him then and everything, because I think he would be available at 31. I just don't know if it would be time for the Chiefs to make that decision. So going over to the super chat. Sorry, I missed this a couple of minutes ago, guys. Scott coming in with a super chat, much appreciated. And as always, if you got a super chat question, can't wait around, fire away, and you will move to the front of the line. Appreciate the support. Do teams have a sense of what next year's draft will look like position-wise, strength, weakness? If so, can it affect this draft? 100%, Scott. Much more so than any of us do. Teams absolutely have a pretty good grasp of what next year's class will look like, because, when their scouts are out going around, I mean, they look at everybody. They look at every class. So when NFL scouts are going in and watching, I mean, more probably about their conversations that they have with the coaches before games and during that week and visiting practices, that's when they're probably going to get more. I mean, there's going to be times that guys pop. But when you're watching games and, if you're going specifically to scout a game, you're usually looking and going for players who are in that year's class. Like I said, doesn't mean that in those games you're not going to see somebody pop and be like, okay, put this guy on the radar for the future because he's the pretty good player. But when they're talking to coaches, he'll be like, hey, who are your freshmen? Who are your sophomores? Who are your red shirts? Who are guys that are going to be, players coming up? So they're already starting to file reports. I mean, there's obviously they filed reports on freshmen who are in, played this year. So they've already started taking a look. And remember, I mean, obviously players still have to be 3 years out from their high school year before they can declare for the NFL draft. I think the one thing that is interesting, and if I get a chance, we might have too many topics to address this with Brett on Thursday. So, I don't know if we'll get to it or not. It's a question I have. So maybe I can ask this during the draft week itself, when we get to talk to some of the scouts, and we'll be talking to Mike Bradway during the draft, and we get a little bit more conversation that way. I'm curious how, because NFL teams have area scouts that work in specific areas for the most part, like the Northeast, the South, Southwest, whatever their geographic breakup may be. And there might be some teams that are getting away from that a little bit. But that is my curiosity, is that now with, the NFL really being set on that area scout concept, and now players are, transferring so much, they're going to be going from one scout to another. I mean, it's probably good in that now you're getting even more eyeballs, different, two different scouting reports on the same player. But, there's probably also a little bit of that loss, in that you don't necessarily have one scout seeing a player through his entire college career, and maybe seeing where, if there's improvement, if, there's a setback, what you see as far as consistency and performance and work ethic and all of that. So like I said, I'd like to ask that question, but to the guys in the scouting department in the front office during the draft in the next week or week and a half if I can. But yeah, they do. I mean, like I said, they have a better sense of it than we do. I mean, you can have a kind of a cursory view as a fan, and there's some really good reporters. I mean, Dane Brugler at The Athletic is one of those that he probably already has a top 100 draft board for the 2026 class. And if you go to the mock draft database website, they've got mock draft, boards and rankings for players and everything going out for the next couple of years. So there are, individual reporters and scouts and everything that do look at the future year's classes. I mean, I can't tell you that much about it because I haven't talked to those people. I don't look at it as much. I mean, so I couldn't really give you an idea. I mean, I can tell you that, obviously, just because this year's left tackle draft class is so weak, there's an absolute consensus that next year's is a better class. So if you're looking for a left tackle, you'd much rather be in the market next year's draft than this year's draft. There's just not that many candidates. I mean, if you're looking for a right tackle, this draft is fine. If you're looking for a left tackle, not so much. Next year's probably going to be better. And I think there's a lot of obviously conjecture that Arch Manning is going to be in next year's class. So that's probably going to affect really the top of the board. And we'll obviously see what happens, but that would be his first eligibility. So we'll see. But yes, absolutely. No teams. I mean, like I said, the Chiefs probably have a fairly good sense of who's going to be the best players and what's maybe some positions of strength and weakness in 2027 already. They probably are looking at it that far down the road, but they have a much better sense of it than we do. Jesus with Super Chat as well. Mr. Enthusiasm, how many quarterbacks do you see getting drafted? Carr may have shoulder surgery, no mercy. Good question. I mean, I think it's probably a bit of a crapshoot guess for me on how many quarterbacks get drafted. I mean, there's a somewhat consistent number from year to year. Going back to look at kind of a breakdown of this year's class to see. I can't go to a cheat sheet like Nick's draft board yet because I haven't seen his quarterback rankings yet. But I know last week when we had our mock draft that we did kind of on the fly here on the live discussion, and we're thinking about doing another one tonight. So if you'd like to see us do another mock draft tonight, if we're going to do it, we're going to use a different simulator this time. So trades might be a little bit more realistic. But I'm looking to see about my list of quarterbacks here. So I can kind of give you my thought and everything about what I think that, because there's kind of, I took Graham Mertz, and that was just kind of, hey, there wasn't much left, and because of Nick made some trades, we ended up with a lot of draft picks. So I don't think the Chiefs are taking a quarterback. But let me go to my quarterback list. There we go. And I mean, I know if you're looking at, I'm looking at the mock draft database. I mean, they would say there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably 11 or 12 quarterbacks that would be in the range of drafting. I think that's about right. I mean, their board would have, I think the 12th quarterback on this board is Curtis Rourke from Indiana. It'd be 239, which would be like right at the end of the draft if it was a true board. Brady Cook, Graham Mertz would be below that line, and 7th round undrafted free agent is probably accurate for both of them. I mean, I think there's a chance I think Brady Cook goes in the 7th round. Graham Mertz would be probably an undrafted free agent. There's a few others. There might be someone who sneaks up, but probably, I mean, I would say 11 to 12 would probably be my guess. That's a fairly good number. It might be more than that. I mean, it absolutely could. It doesn't look like a really super rich quarterback class this year. I mean, obviously it doesn't have the breadth and the depth of last year's class. This year, you've got Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders that are going to be most likely 2 of the top 5 picks. I know right now the consensus big board projection has Sanders going to the Saints. We'll see if that holds true. I know like mock draft has the consensus going with Jackson Dart going to the Steelers. I keep hearing the rumors that they really like Jalen Milroe, so we'll see how that all shakes out. I mean, I think it's a really good question about just how many quarterbacks go in the first round, because it could be 2, it could be 3, 4. 2, I think, is fairly safe, and if it's only 2, that would be pretty remarkable with only 2 quarterbacks in the first round. But as I like to say, your mileage may vary. There could be more, there could be less. So let's see where we were at. And Chris, Andy Reid once traded Donovan McNabb on Easter Sunday. Which current Chief should fear a bunny day phone call? Good question, because I mean, here's the thing. I can't see I can't necessarily envision that there's a Chiefs player for whom there's a really big market that the Chiefs would want to trade. It's not like that the only player that would fit into the category of, that there's a contract. I don't even want to say impasse, because that's not the issue with Trey Smith. It's just that they don't have a long-term deal done. And the sense is that still from both sides is that they're going to get a long-term deal done. I was told everybody was still focusing on this spring. Well, this spring runs until June 20th. So that's a pretty big window as far as being able to get something done. So, I mean, hey, is Trey Smith a guy that could get traded? I mean, conceivably, I think that's such a remote chance of happening. I'm not sure that there would be any trade for the Chiefs on Easter Sunday or by Easter Sunday, Chris. I think there's a better chance that the Chiefs would make a player trade for draft picks during the draft. And honestly, the guy that jumps out to me on the board is Sky Moore, simply just because he's a former second-round pick with whom I can see some teams potentially being interested. Wouldn't get much. I mean, you're only going to get, maybe a 7th rounder for Sky Moore, but hey, a draft pick's a draft pick. And if the Chiefs got somebody that they want, and right now, I mean, once again, Sky would be looking like he's on the outside of being in the top 5 or 6 receivers for this team in this year's draft. And if the Chiefs were to take a receiver in this draft, then by Saturday, by day 3, his value to the Chiefs would be even less. So I think that would even, make it more likely that something could be done. I've looked, and I have a hard time looking at anybody else that I think, one, has significant enough value that another team would want to take a risk on and a chance on, that the Chiefs would actively be shopping or interested in moving. I mean, it's possible, maybe because they do have a lot of young guys on the interior offensive line that maybe there's some teams that would be interested in. But I don't think that the Chiefs, there's no other position. I mean, Chiefs aren't necessarily trading a tackle. If a player was good enough to be traded for a tackle, they'd be starting for this team. So, doesn't mean it can't happen, because once again, I mean, if the Chiefs just feel like there's a tackle that they have that isn't a fit for them, that somebody wants, and they think they can get a resource out of it, that's a deal. But like I said, I just have a hard time seeing that there'd be a tackle that somebody else wants that the Chiefs wouldn't be saying, well, this guy's good enough for them, he should be starting for us. And hey, if you've got some ideas, feel free to fire them away in the comments. I mean, you can respond to them. Maybe somebody else has a kind of an outside the box thought and everything. So I will try and do a better job of multitasking. I know Brian, as I look down the bottom, says trade Jawan. Jawan Taylor's not going anywhere this year. Got one more year, folks. And Jawan's fine. So don't worry. Don't stress out too much about Jawan. Jawan will give you one more good year, and then you'll move on. So don't worry about Jawan too much. Brian, when are we going to schedule the first annual Chiefs Digestion meet and greet at Zarda's? Hey, if Zarda's wants to sponsor it, we'll definitely make that happen. So if I need to find another barbecue place, I'm open to any and all sponsors. So Brian, once again, I love the idea. So let's see if maybe we can get something done on this. So if anybody out there associated with one of the local barbecue restaurants that wants to be associated with us, hey, we'll talk to you. We'll listen. But I think that'd be fun. If we could, because Nick and I talked about, the idea of maybe trying to do a live podcast somewhere where we could do a host and everything like that. And it would make a lot of sense for us to do someplace that's barbecue related, but I'm not going to limit any other sponsors if anybody wants to help out and chip in to pay for it as a sponsor. So we'll let that happen. But I'd be fun, Brian. So I'm putting it on the list of possibilities between certainly, hopefully before the season. So maybe we can make it happen, and maybe we can make something happen during training camp. I know some of our other friends and in this space in the media have done some events up in St. Joe. Maybe we could kind of fit in there as well. It's a good comment from Julia. Just a reminder, Chris Jones is not getting younger, which is why one of the many reasons why Nick and I both would take a defensive tackle in this year's draft. Andrew, I don't know if Andrew wants me to share this, but Andrew mowed my yard the other day because he's the official lawnmower of Chiefs Digest. So appreciate you as always, Andrew. What position do you think the Chiefs will draft in the first round, or will they trade the pick and move up or down? I mean, Brett's not opposed to moving out of that first round. If he can get value and if he can get more picks and there's not a player there that the Chiefs absolutely are crazy about, I mean, he would trade out of it. I mean, last year, obviously they traded up with Buffalo to make sure they got Xavier Worthy. If they had stayed and weren't able to make that deal with Buffalo, if they were stayed and were still able to get Xavier Worthy, they draft Xavier Worthy. I mean, there wouldn't have been any trading down last year. There have been a couple of times that they've tried to trade down from the first round and you just can't find a partner. So I think trading down, I think is at least a somewhat reasonable possibility. I mean, right now, I threw out a number of 40% saying that I think there's a 40% chance that Chiefs might trade down. I think that might be a reasonable number. I mean, and here's the tough thing, Andrew, is that you just don't know who's going to be available at 31. I mean, that's the hard thing. If you could even get a group of 5 players that you all think are going to be available at 31, I mean, the only way you're going to make it a list and guarantee yourself is if you're just taking somebody who is a consensus second round pick and is just somebody that wouldn't be probably considered a first round pick by anybody. And like I said, my conversation with a member of the front office earlier today, via text, pick 31 is a second round pick. That's what it's going to be. The Chiefs have 16 to 18 players who are first round grades. Their expectation is that all of them will obviously be gone by 31. There's always a chance that they're gone by 20, and even trading up is not much of a possibility, but still think that you're looking at the premium positions. So defensive line, defensive end, defensive tackle, offensive line, specifically tackle, cornerback. Those are the most likely positions. Any other position, I think there's a reasonable chance that there might be a really, really good receiver or two available at 31. Not sure that would be the pick because I think that the Chiefs feel like that their needs are higher at defensive tackle, defensive end, and corner. Certainly tackle if the right player is available. So receivers probably next on that list, which is why it's not probably, a high consideration for a first round selection. Of course, I can always be a smokescreen from what you hear from people this time of year. But I feel like at one of those premium positions, something along the trenches, not center or guard because the Chiefs are in pretty good shape there, but offensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive end, and then corner. Those are I would say 95% confidence that the first Chiefs pick will come from that category of players in those positions. So, and with your follow-up question, Andrew, I think moving down is absolutely, like I said, 40% chance wouldn't surprise me. Brett Veach understands and knows that he needs more draft capital going forward. That's something with the contracts that they have and the stars that they have and building around the team that they have. They've got to draft well. They've got to draft a lot of guys, and they need more picks every year. So I think if he gets an opportunity to get more picks this year, better picks this year, because remember, of their 8 picks, 3 of them are in the 7th round. And I think they're missing their 6th round already from next year. You're able to upgrade picks this year, get more picks this year, more picks next year, those would all be on, I think, Brett Veach's list. Hey, Brian, I'm going to bring up Omar Norman Lott when Nick gets here, because I think you get a better answer from him on that one. Matthew, what Star Wars collectibles do you have behind you? A fair number. And this isn't. I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd. Let's face it. And I've got a few other collector's items in the bedroom on some other shelves too. But let's see, behind me, right there is, by pointing at my Luke Skywalker lightsaber that I picked up at the Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. I was fortunate to be there. Trying to remember, I think it was second week. My wife fortunately had a work conference out in California, was going on when Galaxy's Edge opened at Disneyland back in 2019, and I managed to score tickets to that. So did that. It's out of sight, you can't see it, it's actually up above the shelf, but I do have an R2D2 that I built, a custom R2D2. Tell you what, this is very unprofessional, but we're going to tilt up here so that you can maybe kind of see. There's a couple of R2D2s up there, but yes, the red and white one, he was deemed not R2D2 but PM15, since he is red and white. So, and yes, you have Yoda up there. There's some Simpsons collectibles as well. For those of you of a certain age, you may remember the empty box Christmas of 1977 when the movie first came out and there were no toys available. They came out with a stand that you could order and would be shipped to you and would come with a figure. But it was like a little stand that you could put all the first 12 figures on. A few years ago, and I guess it would have been the 40th anniversary, they came out with that stand again, a very different version of it, and the same set of action figures, all redesigned a little bit. So that's what you see up above. Yeah, I'm a nerd, and I have all of those because those were the toys of my childhood, my first Star Wars toys, and now I gotta get this thing to lock back in place. So, like I said, I shouldn't have moved the camera. So that won't score well. You can also see my treadmill, over there in the corner of the office. So, yeah, definitely should not have moved the camera. Directly behind me, and now that the camera's a little crooked too, yeah, those are the Phantom Menace banks. So those are three banks that are tied together, and I think the batteries are dead right now, or I would press that. But you put a coin in it, and then either Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, or Qui-Gon move around. But when they are synced together and tied together, and you push a button, they all fight. So that's pretty cool. Often get asked questions. You have to see the Patrick Mahomes book. I have some of the Coffee Mate coffee creamers that came out a few years ago. I think there's R2D2, C3PO, Darth Vader, Chewie, Boba Fett. Those were pretty cool bottles, so I just have a collection of those. I'm trying to think, there's probably a few other things back there, but yes, my catcher's mitt from my youth. There's a few Simpsons collectibles. There's some Star Wars toys that my mom bought for me in that corner shelf down there. So there's your rundown of my background, Matt. So I hope you appreciated that. Jesus, favorite football movie? Yours is Friday Night Lights. A really good one. I mean, here's the thing. I've always been just really disappointed in football movies. I mean, I just don't think that a lot of them are really good. I mean, there's entertaining ones and funny ones. I mean, and I maybe I just didn't get enough into the artsy ones, North Dallas 40. Why am I'm blanking on the one that Burt Reynolds was in back in the 70s that they had the remake of? Waterboy, funny. I mean, I'm just in that category that I just don't feel like that there's a lot of great football movies. I mean, I even though it's not really, it's kind of like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? The football movie I've probably seen the most is The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans. And I'm trying to, is there another movie I'm forgetting? I mean, Friday Nights is good. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So that's probably, I mean, I probably should be in maybe in the category of best football movie. Anybody else throw any ideas out there? Maybe there's one I'm really missing, but I feel like compared to baseball, in which there are dozens of really good baseball movies and baseball movies that I love. So, maybe I got a little bit of a bias towards baseball there too. Baseball was my first love as a kid. So, not that I don't love football, but baseball was always kind of first in my heart for the longest time. So even sometimes bad baseball movies I really like. So, but there's a lot of really good baseball movies. Jesus, do the Chiefs bring back L'Jarius Sneed if he's cut? I think it'd be hard to come back just because one, I mean, I think that the Chiefs would probably, if L'Jarius Sneed got cut, there's going to be a reason for it, which is not just the cap reasons, but also because he's been a little bit banged up last year. And that was a concern for the Chiefs going forward. So if L'Jarius Sneed became available at any point, I think a reunion would be hard. Also, because I'm not sure that feelings were all the best. I mean, the Chiefs I don't think they had any feelings necessarily about it, but I do think L'Jarius was a little miffed and hurt. And I don't necessarily blame him because, I mean, the Chiefs were the ones that kind of decided to move on without him. I mean, he I think would have liked to have stayed in Kansas City. He would have also wanted to be paid, and the Chiefs just weren't willing to pay him. So I don't know if you can get over that enough to see a reunion happening. I mean, it could certainly be possible. I mean, I'm not ruling it out because the Chiefs still think highly of L'Jarius. So if they think he's healthy enough to play and the price is right, I don't think the Chiefs would have any problems with that. I could see it being more on the other side, and I'm sure L'Jarius would still like to get paid some. And I think that's just still is the Chiefs and how much they'd pay L'Jarius is still probably less than what some other teams would pay. And again, that I think it has nothing to do with the quality of football or how good of a player he is or a person, any of that nature. Nothing to do with that. It's 100% just the Chiefs are not comfortable with his knee and the injury history and projections going forward. So, I mean, if he ever comes available, we'll see what happens. But I couldn't see it happening in the short term. Also from Jesus, what kind of numbers do you see Xavier getting next season? I mean, if Xavier's healthy, I'm not going to bet against 1,000-yard season. I mean, there's only one football to go around, and I think all three of the Chiefs' top three receivers could have great years next year. I mean, there's a little bit of it is going to be about the protection and about left tackle, but and honestly, maybe a little bit about the running back situation too, because I still feel that if you want, I mean, when Patrick Mahomes was at his best, his truly incredible, outrageous MVP 2018 season. Remember, at one point the Chiefs were averaging 7 yards a play. Was because they weren't only just loaded at wide receiver and tight end, but they had Kareem Hunt playing the best football of his life and his career. So if you have a 2018 version of Kareem Hunt, which I'm not sure you have on the roster right now, but were you to acquire one in the draft and get somebody that could play like that, that elevates this offense even more. I have a hard. I mean, I mean, Rashee Rice, there's no doubt. I mean, Rashee Rice on pace came close to 1,000-yard season already. He was on pace for 1,000-yard season last year after just 3 games. I mean, it was pretty clear that he was going to have a 1,000-yard season last year had he not gotten hurt. So it's hard to project necessarily 2,000-yard receivers. I mean, I honestly think as accomplished as he is, Hollywood Brown, third best receiver on the team. And Xavier's going to be up there. And Travis is not a 1,000-yard receiver anymore. The Chiefs, let's put it this way. I think the Chiefs need Xavier to be 1,000 yards. They want this offense to be back where it was. I mean, remember when this offense was cooking, they had 2,000-yard receivers. One of them was a tight end, but you had 2,000-yard receivers. They need to get back there again. So I don't see any reason why Xavier Worthy can't have a 1,000-yard season alongside Rashee Rice. So my projection for Xavier would be, I think, at least 900. I mean, I think that's in the ballpark for him, certainly based off of last year. But I think a 1,000-yard season is absolutely what the Chiefs. If the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl next year, I think it's because they got a couple of 1,000-yard receivers on this team, and that would be to me Worthy and Rice. And I don't think that's too much to expect because he performed. He's a good player. He fits in well. I mean, hard worker. I don't see why that's not a reasonable expectation for him. Mike, with limited roster spots for true difference makers available, what would be the most shocking splash KC would make in the first round? What would be a big time get and your dream trade up? Ooh, really good question, Mike, because I mean, trading up is it's just how far can you trade up? And I mean, honestly, a little bit of my dream trade up would have been last year. I'm telling you, last year, I'm not trying to be, revisionist here. I mean, you could go check it out. And Nick and I were all both on board with this. Last year, and I realized this would have meant that you don't have Xavier Worthy and you don't have Kingsley Suamataia, but I would have given up last year's first, last year's second, a 2026 first, and a 2027 first to move into the top 10 to get Joe Alt. I don't know if that would have been enough because obviously you had to get pretty darn high to get him, and you would have had to get in front of the Chargers because the Chargers weren't trading with you. But I would have given up 3 firsts and a second minimum. I wouldn't necessarily blink at somebody else to go up and to get Joe Alt. And he wasn't necessarily the only one. I mean, there's another tackler too that I would have considered that for. There's nobody in this class that tackle wise that I would go up for. The only player that I really truly seriously think that if you're the Chiefs, you would go up to go get at the tackle position, which is, I mean, that's the biggest obviously need that the Chiefs have. But I'm only going into the top 20 to go get a left tackle. And that only one is Josh Simmons to me in this class. That's the only left tackle. I saw a projection the other day that had the Chiefs moving up to a trade to go get Kelvin Banks at 19. I mean, I think he's a right tackle at best. There's a lot of projections that have him as a guard because just of the arm length and the size. And I mean, if that's the case, then you're definitely not taking Kelvin Banks. If you think he's a guard, I think it's a little high to go get a right tackle. But you know what? I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you might need to view this as shoring up both sides. You go get a tackle now that can be your right tackle of the future and work on left tackle next year. I mean, especially since you don't necessarily have right tackle nailed down. So that would be one option. The other question is is there anybody that, and once again, Chiefs are a little bit limited in resources. I mean, is there a player for whom I would give up like that Joe Alt, collection? Would I go up to go get? I'm not sure that there is, because even if you look at, the big players at other positions, I mean, if you're looking at defensive line and you're talking about Abdul Carter and Mason Graham, even if you're talking about getting into the top 10, I wouldn't mortgage the future as good as he might be. I can't mortgage the future for a running back. I can't do that to go get Ashton Genty. But you look at everybody, you look at defensive line, tackle, corners, anything in this year's draft, there's nobody that I would move heaven and earth to get into the top 10 or top 15 to go get. The question is there somebody that, falls into the, maybe 19, 20 range that you could afford reasonably to go up and get? Because this year's draft, I don't think it's as deep as last year's draft, but particularly at the top. Last year's draft was kind of top heavy. I mean, there's a lot of good players in the first round, and obviously Chiefs picking a 31 kind of really good player in Xavier Worthy. I mean, even if he had a second round grade from a lot of teams, he obviously is a really good player. So this year's draft is not as good at the top to me as last year's draft. It just has a lot more depth at certain positions into like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. So, you're going to get I think you're going to get some decent defensive line play in the 3rd, 4th round. I mean, you might end up with some good projects at offensive line, maybe in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. There's another position, wide receiver, I think, is go corner, another one of those positions where there's going to be some decent depth and you're going to get good players. It's just, are there any mega stars in this draft that you can see it go up and see getting a difference? I mean, not that I can make the case for. Maybe one of the top players, like maybe Abdul Carter, maybe that he'll prove to be a guy that is year in and year out All Pro. Maybe he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know. But, is that a player you'd move up from 31 to 5 and pay that much to go get? Because that would be require 3 number ones to go do it. There's nobody in this year's class. I mean, to me, last year was the time. And maybe the Chiefs made the right decision because Xavier Worthy's a good player. They might get a good player this year. They might get a good player next year. So maybe, bypassing the trade that I would have made, we'll see. I mean, we'll look back at it and say, okay, well, if the Chiefs had traded Xavier Worthy, whomever they get this year at 31 and whoever they get next year, and Kingsley Suamataia, would you trade that for Joe Alt? We'll find out another 12 and a half months from now. We'll discuss that and see what you would have done. But Mike, and maybe it'll be next year. Maybe I'll feel differently. Maybe it'll be a player that, I would move up to go get. But I mean, you don't need a quarterback. So there's no left tackle of, your dreams that's doesn't have questions and doesn't have concerns. Last year there were probably 3 or 4 left tackles that were legitimate players that you could go get. That not the case this year. So question is, are some of those defensive linemen worth going up to go get? Maybe, but this, like I said, this is just, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm having a hard time. And I think a lot of people are having a hard time is that after you get past those first 5 draft picks that certainly seem to be set right now, I think it's a crapshoot the rest of the first round. You see players going in mock drafts at wide ranges. So I think it's going to be really difficult to kind of peg what happens this year. And then you throw in the aspects of trying to nail down the drafts and trades. It's going to be tricky. Brian, how early do Chiefs need to go get a cornerback to get someone better than Watson? I'm going to push back on the question a little bit, Brian, because I don't think there's anything wrong with Jalen Watson. I don't think there's anything wrong with Najee Johnson. I think the injuries have been the questions and the problems. I mean, obviously, Najee with the knee, I do not think he was 100% at any point last year. We're not going to really know about Najee until this year. We'll see if his potential that he flashed before the knee injury, whether that was legit, we'll find out this year. Jalen's been hurt both of the last 2 years and played through it. I give him a lot of credit for that. I mean, yes, there has been up and down play. And the Chiefs, I mean, he had an opportunity, even when healthy, to really claim that number 2 spot and didn't quite do it. But I think, considering the injuries that Jalen Watson has been through and what he played through for you as a Chiefs fan, I think you got to give him the respect for it and say, hey, wait a minute, Jalen Watson, healthy, gets a chance to nail down that job. Now, obviously, you went out and signed Christian Fulton because even when healthy, he hasn't quite nailed it yet. But I'm not giving up on Jalen Watson because I still think there's some football player in him, and being 100% healthy, I want to see what he can do. That said, hey, who is the corner that, could be a difference maker? Is there one available? I mean, I really like Jacob Parrish. He's probably going to be, second, early third from Kansas State. Nick and I got to talk to him. Really intrigued. He is a very athletic player, very fast. I think 4.28 speed. Had an incredible combine. He's got a lot of Trent McDuffie in him. He's size-wise a little bit the same, but they both have that same kind of mentality. He's a physical player. Now, he's not the ideal size. Like I said, Chiefs usually are going to want somebody in the 6-foot range, and he's not that. Neither's Trent McDuffie, and I'm not saying he's Trent McDuffie. If he were, people would talk about him as a first-round pick, but I really like him. I mean, I think he would fit in well with this team and what they do scheme-wise. So, hey, is he going to be better than Jalen Watson year one? I mean, that's hard to say. It's your mileage may vary on that one, as I like to say. I've already dropped that twice tonight, so I can't use it again the rest of the night. Other corners. And again, we might have to get Nick's evaluation on this one too. The Thomas kid from Florida State, I think is kind of interesting. And that would be probably more of a second-round pick. Like I said, Parrish, I just think if you could get Parrish with one of your third-round picks, I think that would be interesting. If you talk about later in the draft, again, Kobe Bryant from Kansas, I think, is another player that's locally that's really interesting. There's a few others that would probably be in that camp that you could put them into, but my draft darling for probably, I would say, third round. I mean, I got two guys I would take in the third round if I'm the Chiefs, and one of them is Jacob Parrish, and the other, just coincidentally, is another guy that we talked to, Ty Robinson, the defensive tackle from Nebraska. Very impressive. His film's really impressive. Another guy who's athletic, a lot of flexibility, a little bit undersized maybe to be a flex that goes outside and plays edge, but he did that in college. He played multiple positions. High football IQ guy. So I'd be interested. I'm interested in him. I mean, those are my two third round crushes. I don't necessarily have a first round crush this year. I'm not even sure if I have a second round crush, but Jacob Parrish and Ty Robinson are two guys that I would take in the third round easily. Haley, where would you rank Andy Heck compared to the other team's NFL O-line coaches? And, I'm kind of getting into this a little bit, Haley, just to give you kind of a heads up here and a sneak preview. I'm doing some research right now just on offensive line coaches around the league and, who's been where and what they've kind of done over the, since 2013, since Andy Heck has been in Kansas City and then Andy Reid's been in Kansas City. It's a real coincidence, I believe, based on what I've been looking at so far, the two most tenured offensive line coaches in the NFL, I believe, are Andy Heck and Jeff Stoutland and Philadelphia. I mean, they both moved into those jobs in 2013. So kind of a coincidence, but I believe those are now the two longest tenured O-line coaches in the league. I mean, I'm going to try and go through it and be objective about it to see, how well, the players that they've drafted have developed, what they've gotten out of their drafts, what their performance and their rankings have been. And we'll see how it comes out, Haley. Maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe the Chiefs will fare better than I think that they will. Obviously, and Andy Heck's got successes on his chart. You can't not give him any credit for Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and the success that they've had. I mean, you can take Joe Tooney a little bit. I mean, just say that he inherited a great player there. And people also argue that he inherited great players in Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, that they came in well-developed and well-coached. So we'll see how the story comes out, and and I'll talk to some people about this, and maybe they'll turn my opinion around. I'm going into it as objectively as I can, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm just starting in the research on this one, Haley. So I will let you know how it fares. But I mean, I think it's hard not to look at the results over the last couple of seasons and feel like that this offensive line has underperformed. That when you have the three guys in the middle that they do, and you have I think an above average right tackle. I know not everybody's a fan of Jawan Taylor, but I think above average. When you've got those kind of players on your offensive line and you don't have the production that you should, I think it's fair to ask some questions. So we'll see how it shakes out. And like I said, we'll talk about this story at a later date when it's posted and everything. It'll probably be a few more weeks because I'm doing a lot of research on it and how it all breaks down and looking at the numbers. But we'll see what happens and see what it looks like. Chris, is college football fixable when players are holding out from spring practice for more NIL money? I mean, it's not fun to hear about and follow, especially the story in Tennessee. I mean, I don't think it's good for the school or the kids. It's not great. I don't see it hurting college football at this point yet. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are, gloom and doom, and this is the end of college football. And I guess I've just been around long enough and I've heard that so many times that I just can't. I'm not gonna believe it until I see it. I'm from the show me state after all. I've just heard, too many times it's been TV is going to ruin college football, and letting go to the pros early is going to ruin college football, and so many things are going to ruin college football. And now NIL money is going to ruin college football, and yet people are watching it more than ever, especially the big games. So as long as the money keeps coming in, I mean, what's broken about it? I mean, at this point, I think you got more teams that can win a national championship than ever before. You got a playoff. You're going to have more teams in a playoff than ever before. And maybe we are going to end up with the same 6 schools winning national championships all the time, but at least for now, in the short term of the playoff system, it seems a little bit more democratic, and the transfers, I think, are balancing the playing field a little bit. And obviously, once again, it's a coach driven sport. You're not going to have the dynasties without the coaches being there also for 30 years. So coaches are just as mobile as the players are. So yeah, I just don't think I don't know I don't know what the fix is, but I don't know that it's broken at the same time either. I mean, I get everybody, a lot of people who don't like the way it is and the way it's going, but I mean, we've heard this story before that something's going to destroy college football, and it just seems to be coming through it stronger than the other. Brian, what are the positional strengths of next year's draft? I'm the wrong guy to ask, unfortunately. All I can think is that, hey, if Arch Manning is in next year's draft, he's better than any quarterback in this year's draft. So, I mean, that's at least one player. I know from talking to scouts and personnel execs that there's absolutely a belief that next year's tackle class is going to be better than this year's, mostly because this year's tackle class is so terrible. So we'll see, but yeah, I unfortunately, Brian, I can't give you that yet. So a little too early for me, probably too early for Nick too, and so because I think he's exhausted from this year's draft class. Alan, I'm going to star your question and bring it back up for Nick when he gets here. Should be any time now. I know he's working on his draft board though, so I'm sure he wants to finish that before he comes in. Haley's follow up: if the Chiefs were to part with Andy Heck, is there anyone that they could get would be an upgrade at the position? I can't remember his name, but Nick has talked about it before, that the first place that he would go would be, and let me look it up, is the O-line coach at Oklahoma, because he's obviously has absolutely been turning out projects, and he's great players. I think it's Bill Bedenbaugh. Is that right? Yeah, Bill Bedenbaugh. And I'm looking to see how long he's been there now. I mean, going into this year, 13 NFL draft picks and 11 seasons at OU. So, think about all the players that he's had there at OU, and obviously players who have been in Kansas City, but he's had Lane Johnson, he's had Orlando Brown. Let's see who else is on that. There's somebody else. Well, Creed Humphrey, obviously on that list. I mean, it's not just, one position. I mean, they've been cranking out offensive linemen of all sorts. And he would have been the offensive line coach when I think Samaje Perine set his record for rushing yards in a game. So that's the first guy I would call. I would go to a college coach that is cranking out NFL talent by the boatload. So that'd be my first try. And then after that, there's some other coaches with NFL experience that you would look at that are available. I don't think you're going to get Jeff Stoutland out of Philadelphia, but you could obviously offer him a promotion, a co-offensive coordinator or something to be able to get him a ton of money. But that would be my first thought. I mean, and then, like I said, maybe there's some other, college coaches that you look at who have had some success in producing NFL talent, but Oklahoma and Bill Bedenbaugh would be the first guy I would look at. Chris, when will we see a pending NFL free agent decline to play in the playoffs in order to make sure he is healthy for the big payday? I mean, that's kind of a allusion a little bit to the college game in which you're seeing that. I'm not sure that we will see it for a couple of reasons, Chris. I mean, one, I think that it would be a great way for a player to torpedo their value. I mean, if you quit on your team because you're like, hey, I don't want to get hurt. This team's not winning the Super Bowl. It's a 9-8 wild card team, and I'm not going to play in the playoffs because I'm one game away from free agency. I think if you're a $20 million player, now you're a $10 million player. You would absolutely be torpedoing your value. Maybe there'd still be a team that would take a chance on you. but I think you would absolutely be burning money. I mean, you're going to be losing millions, not just the 1 million. I think you'd be losing multiple millions. I mean, it would have to be a player of significant value. I mean, to, in order to really justify that, I mean, you'd have to be somebody who would be in the upper echelons of the free upcoming season. So, I mean, I'm not even sure if I could think of a good example from the Chiefs, but you know what? I mean, here's a couple. Hollywood Brown didn't need to come back. Hollywood Brown could have just shut himself down and said, not coming back. That's not the mentality of NFL players. And it's not the mentality of NFL players who want to win a Super Bowl. So that's why I think you're just burning your value. I mean, if you did that, you're eliminating one team that's going to sign you, because your current team would not want to bring you back. So, and you know what? If you're concerned about the money, just like in college, there's insurance policies available. If you've gotten to the end of your NFL season and you're going into the playoffs and you're a pending free agent, go price insurance. Go get insurance against loss of value. Not that expensive. It's a hedge towards getting hurt. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but go out and buy the insurance. Hedge against it. Take your chance. But I mean, if you decline to play like college kids do, and bailing out on the playoffs or the bowl season, and bowl season a little bit less than the playoffs, but I know that there were some players this year that didn't participate in the playoffs because and somebody might point me wrong. I think for everybody, I think that didn't play in the playoff for some reason. There were some reasons for that. So maybe there's somebody I'm missing on. Nick is, you know what? Nick is calling me because I forgot to send me the invitation. So this is me answering Nick on the phone, hoping that he can hear me and know that I am sending him an invitation to join the live stream now that he may or may not be finished with his draft board. So he hung up on me, so I'm assuming that means he heard me, that I'm sending him the link. So everybody, that's my fault. Thank you. Yes, many of you were pointing out The Longest Yard was the one that was the original and the remake that I was forgetting. Unnecessary Roughness I was thinking about too, Lateral. I mean, that wasn't my favorite, but I guess there's been two versions of that too. So Tommy, Remember the Titans, very good movie. That I never saw American Underdog, never saw the I just couldn't get past some of the casting in that one. But I have heard that was a good one. All the Right Moves, good one there. And let's see, Varsity Blues, Blue Mountain State, you got that. We Are Marshall, that's a good one. I have not seen The Express, but I heard that was a good one too. That was there you go. I was waiting for somebody. I was starting to think about the Little Giants. I don't think Fast Times at Ridgemont High is a football movie, Brian, but I know what you're doing there. I know where you're going. There's another one that I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the one with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell. I'm sure someone, if you didn't mention it already, it was a decent football movie too, and not very often that you get Robin Williams in a football movie. So we'll go with that. Nick is in the green room, so he will be able to join us shortly here when he is all set, technical, and everything is all ready to go. So I appreciate him putting up with my nonsense of forgetting to invite him. It was very, very neglectful on my part. I completely take the blame on that one. So, Terry, any chance Smith gets extended early? And I'm assuming you're talking about Trey. I mean, I'm still being told that both sides expect to have something done this spring. So optimism at one time I certainly would have been that maybe something gets done before the draft, but at this point I'd be surprised if that's the case. I think it's going to be after the draft, but like I said, again, spring goes until late June, so it's a pretty wide window. He is signed. I mean, he signed his tenure, so as a result, it's optional, but he would be expected. I would expect him to show up for OTAs. I'd be surprised if he wasn't there for OTAs. Obviously, since he's already signed his tender, he would be required to be there for the mandatory minicamp in June. This isn't a case where he's unsigned. He's signed his tender, so he is under contract. So it's just a question now of whether or not both sides can work out a long-term deal, and obviously that affects his cap number for this year. I still assume that something gets done. I would say sooner than later, but in this case, it's probably a case of later than sooner, because I just don't think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks, but it could be in the next few weeks. How about that? Rick, am I the only one out there that thinks the Chiefs ought to get another wide receiver for injury's sake? You are not, because Nick and I are in camp draft receiver every year. You can't ever, to me, you need to be getting Patrick Mahomes weapons every single year. And let's face it, like we've been talking about, Rashee Rice is already going into year 3. I mean, because of the injury. So, January is when you could extend Rashee Rice and, trying to start keeping, if you want to keep him beyond year 4. But, year 4 is, 2026 would be his final year under team control. So, and under his rookie contract. So, yeah, life moves at you fast, especially for non-first round picks. So, Rick, you got a couple of fans on that page right here, because Nick and I would say draft a receiver every year. Doesn't mean you have to take it in the first round, but certainly, hey, 4th round, you got a project, you like somebody you like, take them. I mean, if you got somebody that can return kicks for you and play special teams, but if you see somebody in the 4th round that has got size or speed or one or the other, and you think can become a player, go get them. And your follow-up there, Rick, do you think the Chiefs could get Brashard Smith out of SMU in the 3rd round? His highlights are impressive. They are very impressive. I mentioned this on the 41 is the mic the other day. 2 players that Nick sent me highlights of that I can remember this year. Brashard Smith was the first one. And I'm forgetting Buchanan's first name. I know it's spelled weird. Why am I blanking? You see, everybody, I am terrible with names sometimes. I even forget my friends' names from time to time. So Teddy Buchanan, because yes, he's spelled Teddye. That was the other highlight reel that a play that Nick sent me. So Brashard Smith, yeah, I mean, 3rd round, you could absolutely get him in the 3rd round. I think he's got 5th round grades from some, so we could get him a little bit later. But no, I mean, hey, if the Chiefs, I mean, they got enough picks there in the top 100 that they wanted to walk out with Brashard Smith and Jacob Parrish and Ty Robinson, they could do it, and I would not object. Sorry, Joe, I don't have many Star Trek collectibles but I do have most of the DVDs. So I know that dates me a little bit there, just saying that I have most of the Star Trek DVDs, but it is what it is.
Hello, Matt.
And now joining us is Nick Jacobs.
It's me. Hi.
Whom I finally decided to invite once he called me to tell me that.
I texted you first, and I gave you the grace period, and then I was like, and there we go.
I didn't see nor hear the text since I had my notifications turned down. So
yep, and I knew a call would do the trick.
That was an L. So I didn't.
Like I said, I gave you the grace period.
Well, you should never give me the grace period. I mean, you can skip. You know me well enough. You can skip the grace period.
Well, I mean, I knew if I put anything in the comment section, I'd still be waiting 34 minutes.
And I actually started reading the comment section, but not early enough for to me to see that. So
that's right, Brian. Lightning round.
Lightning round it is. How are you this evening? Anything on your mind tonight, Nick?
Nope, absolutely nothing. I'm blank slate.
Nothing you need to get off your chest?
Nope, blank slate.
Blank slate. All right. I am going to go back to one question because there was a couple of questions that people had that I held for you because you're going to be able to answer them. And Alan's was specifically for you. Question for Nick. I'm all for the defensive line double tap in rounds 1 and 2. If Veach did that, what D-end, D-tackle combo would you get the most excited? Nolan, Prince, you, Pierce, D. Alexander, or a different combo?
So here's the first part of that party that I'm gonna put out there. I'm gonna put up my board for myself right now, so I don't say something that somebody tries to use against me. Well, no, not gonna use that one. All right,
Use against you in a court of law?
nope, just on the interwebs. Let's see. So it's gonna be a different combo. So just so you know, I don't have Pierce on my board. He's not really a fit for what the Chiefs do. So in Princely, I think let me pull it up. I think I have on there, but I got him down the 4th round. Okay. So Nolan is long term potentially a replacement for Chris Jones at 3 tech. That's what you're potentially getting him for. So you're still going to need a 1 tech long term, and with Alexander's again another 3 tech that I think is going to be behind, would be behind Chris Jones as well. So you've still got a hole at 1 tech, and under that you've got Pierce, who I don't think is necessarily fit for what the Chiefs do scheme wise. Princely would be a 4th round. So I mean, for me personally, if I'm looking at defensive ends, Jordan Birch is a guy that I'm pretty intrigued by. Obviously, Jack Sarr from Ohio State is another guy I'm intrigued by. From a tackle perspective, obviously Nolan's number 1 that has my intrigue the most. We'll see what happens in terms of where Alfred Collins goes, where Joshua Farmer goes. Ty Robinson is somebody that I think could play at tackle or at end, 3 tech or 5, and rotate around in there and be able to help the Chiefs out significantly at both spots. So there's a lot of defensive linemen that I think they could have, but I think getting defensive tackles is kind of really key in this draft. If they can get at least 1 tech and a 3 tech, I think would really, really help them out a great deal with their pass rush. If they got an end and 2 defensive tackles, I'm not going to complain, but defensive line needs to be key for what they're trying to do long term with taking this defense to a new level.
Yeah, I mean, and we've been talking about it. I mean, we would not be opposed if the Chiefs came out of this draft with 3 defensive linemen. I mean, it would not be the worst thing in the world. I mean, really, the only X factor to me is that we did really get a good grasp on last year, because we never got to see him, is how did Chiefs feel about Fabian Lovett? Because, I mean, he could be one of those 0 true nose type guys. I mean, he's got the size for it, Nick, but we just don't know what the Chiefs think of him. We don't know how he developed last year.
Yeah, well, either way, you're always trying to replace with somebody better, no matter what you did.
That is true. Cole was also asking about Josh Connerly and whether he would be a good fit at left tackle if he was available to the Chiefs.
So Connerly, I'm going to have him on the board, but I got him behind Simmons or Ursery. So I've got him down there. I mean, I'm not exactly going to be doing cartwheels if they go out and get him. But, I mean, I understand if they do. But I remember what Brett Veach Brett Veach at the combine and kind of, at the podium. I don't know where they were at grade-wise. So I think if there's somebody they've got in mind in the first round, they'll do it. But if not, I don't know if they're necessarily gonna. They're just not gonna force it. So I mean, there's a couple guys there in the second round, but after that, from a left tackle perspective, you're either getting it there in the first or second round, or you're moving on with your life.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, to me about Connerly is that even if you're projecting him at tackle, I mean, I think most teams are going to say he's probably more of a right tackle. I mean, as far as just talent-wise goes, right?
It just depends on the team, because I think you could play left tackle for the Chiefs. But as I'm going to say every single time somebody asks me about offensive tackles or offensive line picks, now becomes the next part. Can they develop them? Will they develop them? Or is it another wasted pick? So, I mean, everybody can keep mocking tackles to the Chiefs and say, hey, maybe this will do the trick. Hey, maybe this will do the trick. At some point, they're going to have to be like, we can keep drafting, but it's still not working. Why is that? And then they figure that out.
Yeah, there's that. Last question I say for you, Nick, was from Brian. I know we talked a little bit on the podcast about him when we broke down offensive tackles, but thoughts on Omar Norman Lott as a potential candidate?
I mean, he'll be on the board, but I've got him down, I want to say, in the 4th round for the most part. So let me pull up what I wrote about him, and then we'll go from there. All right. Norman Lott wins on leverage and speed. He's got good acceleration, good lateral quickness, and would be strong in games. He can get 3 gaps over very quickly. He has good pop in his bull rush, but it's based on his pad level and him firing off versus serious weight room strength. So keeping the pad level down determines if he can do that or not. He's an interior pass rushing specialist that will struggle against the run. So in that case, he would be a rotational 3 tech until they got him up to speed in terms of run defense. He has a knack for using his speed to get a blocker off balance and then hitting him with the club move. So there's your breakdown on him.
And I think I said offensive line when obviously I meant defensive line. So I think I may already be broken, Nick, for the draft. Who knows?
No. better figure out how to super glue it back together before next week.
Do you have a favorite football movie, Nick?
Varsity Blues.
There
and
you
then
go.
Any Given Sunday after that.
You're there, Scott. He said Varsity Blues.
Well, it's the greatest football movie ever made. So
I do, by the way.
Understandable.
I think it may have been Slam and Sammy who was rattling off all the football movies. I mean, I do enjoy Draft Day for the comedy. So just because it's so unintentionally funny, but
I'm still going to watch it every year before the draft, like Christmas Vacation. So,
and I mean, it's an influential movie because obviously, we know Brett Veach had the note about Patrick Mahomes no matter what.
mm-hmm.
So he's obviously watched Draft Day, so he's a fan.
Yep.
Oh, you would have thought that I would remember where I was, but I don't remember where I was, Nick. So we're gonna go to Brian's question here because it's next on the list, but that doesn't mean that I won't be going back to a question that was asked earlier that I just overlooked. What we call a great cornerback here, the rest of the league calls mid. Why can't we have man-to-man shutdown corners anymore like Carter and Hasty? Are the Chiefs just cheap?
So the Chiefs cornerbacks are based on the scheme. And there's certain particular set of skills you need to have for the scheme. So we're going to do this in a non-cornerback way, and we're going to talk about a guy named Liam Neeson. He has a particular set of skills, and those skills allow him to frighten a lot of people and to go find his daughter in that movie. So if you're complaining about, let's take Liam Neeson and Taken, for example. So if you're complaining about him, I don't know, being able to, use this weaponry skill and be able to use this ability to decipher Albanian language or whatever, and you're getting upset about that. But over here on the other front, you're saying, why can't Liam Neeson be able to use this weapon more or be able to do that more? I just wanted to talk about Taken Liam Neeson for a minute, but basically what I'm getting at, who cares what the league calls any other cornerbacks? If it's working for the Chiefs and getting them to AFC championships and Super Bowl, then they're doing something right and they identified what works in their scheme. So I don't really care what the rest of the league has in terms of what they would call mid cornerbacks. That's good for them. Congrats. They haven't figured out the puzzle. They don't have Dave Merritt. They don't have Steve Spagnuolo. So that's an advantage the Chiefs can continually have over them.
There you go. And I mean, you're not always going to be spoiled and have two guys like Dale Carter and James Hasty. But then again, you also had to have a guy like hanging around Dale Carter all day long just to keep him in check. So
not going to talk about it, Matt.
I'm just thinking of was that Herm Edwards telling those stories? I believe it was. So
I don't know.
Just going to move on.
For the best.
I did not miss any questions, so we are back online. Let's see where it. Do you want to talk about Andy Heck again, Nick? I don't know what I started to do there.
Sure, we can talk about Andy Heck. I don't.
He's well respected. It's just not working. What is the problem?
I mean, there's bad habits that the offensive line has at various points that don't seem to get corrected or fixed in key situations, and certain opponents know how to attack it, and then they attack it relentlessly. So, I mean, there's that part of it, and I mean, part of it may be that they just don't get the maybe they're not when they're doing drills and stuff, maybe there's something this guy needs to work on more than what maybe that player does. And maybe there's a certain way they go about deciphering down the road here to get those guys enough reps whenever they have the time, whenever they're given that time during practice, to be able to get them, if they need to do a certain punch first, or if they need to do a certain kick step this way, then those guys that need to work on that, you put them over there. Or those guys that go over need to work on something else, you go put them over there. But I mean, part of it you can argue is reps and everything. But I mean, at the same front, I mean, there's, other offensive line coaches are somehow able to figure it out in the same amount of time that they're given to, and have better offensive lines.
100%. This is probably Justin's probably bringing this up because of me bringing it up earlier when I was asked, and this might be a good question for you as well, Nick. So I'll ask this as a follow-up.
Doesn't seem like a question at all.
Well, I there's a question mark in it, but it was I.
Why do we always talk about Sky Moore every week? Why?
But I'm gonna ask. Well, I'm gonna ask you the question that prompted me to. I actually brought it up, so it's my fault. But here was my question, because the question was, if the Chiefs were going to make a trade before the draft involving a player getting traded, who would that player be?
I mean, if I'm them, I'm shopping Pacheco and Joshua Williams around at minimum, seeing what's out there on that front.
Those are actually two good answers. Those are very good answers.
It's like I've thought about it.
See, I thought about it, and I did not give that good of an answer. So, I mean, here, it would decrease his value. I don't know. I shouldn't be, but I might be too reluctant to trade Isaiah Pacheco until I have his replacement. Maybe the Chiefs already feel like they've got a replacement, so they could afford to trade him before the draft. But that's a really good answer. And Josh Williams is probably a pretty good answer too, because another player that's got a lot of upside that just hasn't clicked in Kansas City yet, that another team might be willing to take a chance on because of the physical talent.
See, here's the other thing I want to put note-wise on this. Hypothetically, if you did a trade like that, I don't think you're doing that one until day 3. Whenever teams feel like they've gotten past a certain point and they're not going to get the player they want, and then they want to get what the Chiefs maybe have out there if they were shopping them, which I don't know that they definitively are. I just would if I were in their shoes. And it also may be something where you're shopping them for a 2026 pick, so you don't even have to worry about the comp pick. But yes, you would make sure you have their replacements already on the roster. But for Joshua Williams, that already happened when Jalen Watson took his spot and when Fulton also got signed. That moved Joshua Williams further down, and then his inability to handle the gunner position also, didn't help his job security. So, and it maybe, like I said, maybe something you're banking for 2026. So, I just, if those happen, I just don't think I think those would be like a Saturday, day 3, or maybe after Saturday, if a team's like, hey, would you be willing to do this? And then you go from there.
Jesus coming in with the replacements. That is Herbie Teope, I believe, is his favorite football movie. Since he's always quoting Keanu Reeves. And Philip and Slammy were pointing out, yes, it was the best of times, was the ones with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell. So there you go. We're covering all the football movies tonight. Kyle, do you see the Chiefs taking a top 100 linebacker?
I mean, not in, if you're referencing in the top 3 rounds, then I wouldn't if I'm in their shoes. But if a guy who's graded as a top 100, but you take him in the 4th, then I would not be against that. But we'll see what they do. We'll see who's on the board and go from there.
I mean, just going by like NFL mock draft database, which your mileage may vary. I
thought you said you weren't going to say that anymore tonight, and you've already done it.
I did. That's my third time. A third strike. 3 strikes and you're out, Nick. They have 3 linebackers in the top 100. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe only one of them, I don't know, maybe was Demetrius Knight a guy you flagged? I know you like Carson Schlesinger.
Knight was not one of them, no.
And so, I mean, of those top 100, Schlesinger would probably be the only one that you're interested in at the right spot, or would Schlesinger have to be outside the top 100?
Maybe late third if they wanted to do that, and then we'll see where Barrett Carter ends up from Clemson.
There you go. Rick probably accurately blaming my brain fog and my inability to remember Nick's name on the sucralose from the Gatorade Zero that I do have a bottle of right here. So Rick noticed, just like I can know when you've had a sport coffee, Nick, Rick can figure out when I've had a Gatorade Zero.
Yeah, there's been times where you thought I had a sport coffee and I didn't.
That's true.
That's true.
But there's never been a day that you've had a sport coffee that I didn't think that you had a sport coffee.
I don't know. That sounds like Inception.
And one day, I think when I accused you of having a sport coffee, you had the prime drink or whatever.
There was something else. Yes,
it was something else. Uncle Charlie, do the Chiefs have marketing rights per? I can't remember the NGMP to Denmark. If so, do the marketing rights include the Kingdom of Denmark? I mean, I do love the question just for the Kingdom of Denmark part of it. But no, the Chiefs do not have Denmark. But now that you pointed out, Charlie, just for that purpose, they probably really need to get just the Kingdom of Denmark, so they can have that too. But right now they've been focusing on the UK, Spain, and any place that speaks German. So that's where the money's at, apparently. Jackie, how do you guys feel with Josh Simmons being mocked to the Chiefs so much? I know you guys are down on him compared to some. I'm undecided still. I probably have moved a little bit to the undecided camp. I mean, I get all the buzz, and I feel, hey, if the Chiefs take him at 31, I at least feel confident that they have done their homework and that they feel confident in him. I mean, based on what we're hearing, between him being invited to the draft, Nick, and based on the rumors about his workouts and everything, I mean, it certainly is seeming like it's no longer real doubt. I mean, he's going to go in the first round and probably early in the first round. I mean, certainly earlier than 31. I mean, it's still possible that he could be in range for the Chiefs, but I still have my questions and concerns.
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear that, Matt. Look, at the end of the day, we don't have access to what they've looked at in the knee and everything and what they've seen from the physical. So if the Chiefs end up taking him, they feel comfortable with where he's at. So, I mean, we'll see how things play out. But, I mean, he's always going to be mocked to the Chiefs because of the simple fact that everybody believes the Chiefs need a left tackle, and he's the best option for a lot of people, in their opinion, for them to get one. So, they're going to put 2 and 2 together to equal 4. So we'll see if the Chiefs agree with him or if they don't.
There you go. Jackie, very excited to have Jackie. Jackie was very excited to be able to make the live stream tonight. So happy to see you there, Jackie. What position do you hope the Chiefs draft first, and what position do you hope they avoid? I know some fans really don't want O-line early.
Well, I mean, based on a handful of weeks, if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, I don't know if taking an offensive lineman early is going to be a quality investment. So I mean, you got to be able to develop them. And so far it's proven that they haven't been able to develop them. So at this point, I mean, they got to prove me wrong. So we'll see if they can prove me wrong here down the road or not. So that's the position that if they do, I'm like, okay, well, we'll take another swing at it. See if this one works out. 5th or 6th time's a charm, right? So there's that front. But I mean, like, I don't care where they take it at, but I want to see him get defensive line / pass rush. I want to see him get a cornerback. I want to see them get running back. Love to see him get receiver. Love to see one of those speed linebackers. So, I mean, we'll see what the Chiefs end up doing. But I think if they can focus on those fronts, then I think they'll be happy with what they can get done and accomplish. But I mean, I'll be curious to see what they come out with running back wise.
Yeah, I mean, that's a position that I'm really am curious to see if the Chiefs do address during the draft. I mean, it's going to be tough with the number of picks that they have, and I know Brett Veach's penchant for wanting to improve his draft position at a couple of spots too. I mean, that's going to be a long wait from 31 to 63, Nick. So, I mean, it would not be like Brett to wait that long, but he might have to. We don't know. I mean, other than a non-premium position like linebacker or safety, nothing would really surprise me in the first round. I mean, I still think that more than likely a in the trenches offensive line, specifically tackle, defensive line, or cornerback. I mean, those are the premium positions that you go for in the first round. Go early. I mean, I think those are the most likely. Always an offhand chance, like I said, that a good wide receiver falls or something there. But I mean, the Chiefs' biggest needs that they see going into this draft are D-line, D-tackle, and corner. So I mean, I would expect that they would address one of those with their first round pick. And obviously offensive line, not leaving it out, but that would, I mean, they're good. If they came out, we talked about them coming out of this draft pick, Nick, with like 3 defensive linemen potentially. If they came out of this draft with 4 picks in the trenches, especially after what happened in the Super Bowl, that would not be a surprise. It would seem to be probably an appropriate response to what happened in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, still better be a running back in that group.
Well, they got 8 picks, so yeah, you could get 4 in the trenches, running back, a cornerback, and still have 2 left.
All I'm saying is there better be a running back.
I did see Uncle Charlie noted that in our mock draft that we did last week, Nick, when we selected 19 players, that would have broken the record of 15 picks selections by the Vikings in 2020 during a 7-round draft. So your keen eye for trades helped us break a record.
In fantasy.
In fantasy land,
not
yes.
in real world.
Candyland, but not the real world, no.
Yeah.
Brian, why does everyone think Trent Williams' backup isn't light years ahead of the crap the Chiefs have been trotting out? That's a harsh question, Brian.
We'll find out.
We will find out. I'm not going to say what I could say, but
when the pads come on, we'll find out. So till July, we'll find out.
We will find out, and who knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of things going to happen between now and training camp. So, I mean, I can't really explain my having no love for unnecessary roughness. I mean, it's okay, but the same as saying I watch draft day every other month, and obviously, Nick, you're going to be watching it between now and next week, right?
Certainly a possibility, Matt.
I feel like the draft day is your Christmas vacation of draft season.
Yeah, no, that's what I said earlier.
Oh, did you say that?
I did.
Wow.
I did.
Well, that's why it must have seemed like that it seemed like the perfect thing to say.
Yep.
It's as Rick will say, it's the sucralose. Pano, Chiefs need to draft players who like to tear heads off like Max Crosby and TJ Watt. Don't draft softies.
Again, Pano doesn't. You still haven't learned. Pano doesn't have questions. He just makes statements with the questions. Like that's literally all he does, and like it never fails, man.
I fell for it there. I did fall for it.
You fall for it every week, dude. It happens, man.
That's also probably the sucralose.
Yeah. At some point, you gotta stop. You just gotta take ownership of it, man.
Although I'm going to say, I mean, because I brought it up, so you can't blame me for it. Josh Simmons has replaced Sky Moore as the question of the week. There's no doubt that is the number one question on most people's minds.
Well, yeah, because it's almost draft time, and then this later next week we'll have new things to talk about.
Rick wants to get Nick to validate him about the Brashard Smith out of SMU like I did. Thank you, and lay off the sucralose.
What does he mean by validate him?
To gush about Brashard Smith.
I mean, I've been the one holding that banner for a little while now. So
you have.
So I don't know what to tell you. He's my favorite running back.
You converted me to the cause, so I have to credit you. So.
As you should, Matt. As you should.
And I was very proud of myself. I have refused to mention Brashard Smith's name during draft season without mentioning your name. And 2, I made sure that I never said his name out loud until you said it out loud publicly.
I know, and I'm proud of you for that. You can now continue to hear some of my secrets. You passed that test. If you hadn't, then it would have been closed door.
Next task I'm passing is at 8:31. There is a statement with no question, but 4 question marks, and I'm skipping it. So
Is it from Pano?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
No offense, Pano. We're just giving you a hard time. We're just, in the immortal words of the late Val Kilmer, I believe. I killed a man once. What for? He was hacking on me.
Wow. got intense real quickly.
I didn't quote that real well, but you know what? Yeah. Mitchell, every mock draft he does, Omarion Hampton slips to 31. Can't resist him. What players that are typically there would you take over him?
I think it just depends on what draft simulator you're on. Because, I mean, there's some where Walter Nolan's there. There's some where Egba from Ohio State's there. Some where Luther Burden's there. But, yeah, I mean, Hampton normally seems to fall in the mock draft database simulator. It seems like he's normally there. But in real world, I don't know if he's going to get past the Broncos. Like, I think the Broncos is going to be kind of that sweet spot of where he'll end up at, because I think the Broncos are going tight end or receiver, tight end or running back if they can, especially if it's Hampton. So I mean, we'll see what ends up happening, but yeah, I mean, there's a handful of defensive linemen that are normally there. It seems like Pierce keeps falling in that Chiefs range, but I don't obviously, I don't know if Pierce is the fit that everybody thinks he is. So, well, and now that I've said that, the Chiefs will draft him and throw a curveball. So we'll see.
That's how I feel like that. I've been such a Josh Simmons doubter that I have just absolutely ensured that the Chiefs are drafting Josh Simmons. So I feel like I feel like I'm just forcing it into existence.
The thing about Josh Simmons that I'm gonna say is, like, outside of NFL teams, nobody definitively knows where he's at in his recovery. So it's okay to be like, hey, you're not sure, you're uneasy about it because you're not there looking through it. You don't have the trainer, telling you what's what on that front. So, I mean, that's understandable for everybody to be to be concerned about that. And that's why the Chiefs brought him in, so they can check it out and look. Literally, it's probably that's the number one reason they probably brought him in, and to see how he fit with their football culture and just kind of his responses and everything. So it's not a bad thing. They're doing their research. He's doing his research, and then, we'll see what ends up happening on that front. But the other thing is, even though you do those physicals and everything, nobody definitively knows what he is going to be in August or what he will be next year. Will he be the same player, or will he be a little bit different? Will he be less than what he was on tape, or will he be more? Nobody definitively knows. So you're taking a chance. And in the NFL, a lot of teams don't like to take chances in the first round if they don't have to.
100%. Question then. I mean, if Hampton were there at 31 and Nolan was there at 31, who would you take?
Nolan.
There you go. All right. Tells me a lot right there.
I like pass rush.
I mean, I will say, even if it's Hampton, which obviously there's a lot of people who are fans of Hampton, I think if the Chiefs took a running back at 31, regardless of who it was, it would irk some people.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, people would be upset.
So it would not be a universally beloved pick. No. Blazing Bob, yes, we are on YouTube. So if you search for Chiefs Digest on YouTube, you can find us there, and you can subscribe, hit likes, all those sorts of things, and then you will get notified when we are back. So you don't have to just watch us on X. You can find us on YouTube and even on Facebook. I think there's 7 of you on Facebook tonight. So
thank you. I forgot about that. We got a Facebook page now, Matt.
Woohoo!
I know, right?
That is very exciting.
I know, right?
I am very excited.
Yes, I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited that you're excited about.
Let's see what we've got next. So we got lots of new folks and people saying. Then don't forget to like and subscribe. So appreciate
guys.
Everybody.
Join us, and don't forget to watch any of our fantastic podcasts where we break down every single position and who to keep an eye out for.
100%. So then now we have the favorite baseball movie after we had the favorite football movie earlier. Favorite baseball movie is super hard for me because I have so many, but it depends on what day of the week you ask me, probably, because I might give a different answer every day.
All right. I'm going to ask you every day this week now.
I mean, consistently favorite comedy is, of course, Major League. So, I mean, it's always going to be a possibility as being my favorite movie. And right now I might even say Major League favorite movie because it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
probably the one that I'm most embarrassed to like baseball movie, but I also know other people who love it, so I feel less weird about it. There's a few things about it that I get. They're just a little bit over the top and everything, but for love of the game, might actually give Bull Durham a run for its money as the best Kevin Costner baseball movie. So,
Okay.
but Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, also classics.
Mm-hmm.
Natural, wonderful. I very rarely do I ever say The Natural is my favorite baseball movie, but on any given day, I could say Major League, Field of Dreams, or Bull Durham. Or For Love of the Game. I'm going to throw it in there.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite baseball movie, Nick?
Major League.
See, a lot of people that I grew up with, their favorite baseball movie was The Sandlot, and I liked it, but I just didn't understand why it was everybody's favorite baseball movie.
Back goes Serrano. He'll need a rocket up his. That is out of here. It's my favorite line. It may be Major League too. Unless that's Shaquille O'Neal in right field, that baby is gone.
And most people don't know this. One of the best lines from the film was only in the trailer and wasn't actually in the movie, which was that ball wouldn't have been on a lot of parks. Name one. Yellowstone.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
What?
All right.
You're taking it probably in a new context with the TV show. But in 1987.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I've got nothing.
Maui, we have a lot of fans and Poly and Hawaii and everything. I love it. Do you think the NFL ever brings the Pro Bowl back to Hawaii, Nick?
Not until the players give better effort. So no, not right now.
I think there's probably a lot of players who wouldn't mind it because let's face it, I mean, most of the players back then loved it because it was a vacation to Hawaii. And, it was a party.
Maybe the NFLPA can negotiate that back in there.
I mean, I guess it's probably now more of a family vacation because it's a Camping World in Orlando pretty consistently.
It's pretty close to Disney World, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it's in Orlando. So yeah, you can bring the kids and have the family and all be a party and everything like that. But Pro Bowl in Hawaii is what I grew up with. So I miss it.
Stun me if they don't get a discount either because of Disney and the ESPN partnership.
I missed the Pro Bowl being in Hawaii, Nick. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah? Did you go there a lot, did you?
never made it there. But I would love to have been there. And Jesus, thank you. I did miss your super chat. I am so sorry, man. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Will Nick take a pay cut to keep George Karlaftis?
Again, he just keeps doing this. He keeps acting like I'm rolling in dollars, like I'm rolling in all this money. Like Karlaftis makes more in a year than I'm probably gonna make in a lifetime. Get out of here.
Maybe he's talking about Nick Bolton.
I'm assuming since it's the Q&A to you and I, and that is my name, he's asking me like you did a couple weeks ago for some other player.
Yeah,
the answer will always be no. It will always be no. Forever and ever because I want to use that money for my life. Thank you.
If anything, there should be players taking pay cuts so that Nick sticks around and keeps covering the Chiefs.
Okay. I'm just for my employer at KSHB 41. I will not be taking any money from any entity other than Scripps itself.
I wasn't suggesting that.
We have a learning module, Matt, that I've done before. Okay, so we cannot take financial compensation from outside sources. So thank you for opening that can of worms for me.
Well, I wasn't suggesting it. What my suggestion would simply be that if the Chiefs are taking a pay cut, they should then invest that with Scripps and KSHB and around the programming and content provided and delivered by Nick Jacobs. That would be a wise investment of your advertising dollars.
Wow, you really stretched that one out to get yourself out of that hole.
I don't need to bring up the disclaimer, do I?
It doesn't matter anymore.
from the Chiefs Kingdom podcast. Thank you for the content, dudes. Major League was so good and sadly wouldn't get made in today's Hollywood. Probably wouldn't, just because now everything needs to be a sequel and original IP. So what doesn't surprise me, the fact that they have not remade Major League yet. I mean, that just seems like something that Hollywood would do. They would remake it and do a much worse job at it.
I got nothing for you, Matt.
I mean, appreciate the super chat, guys. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Let's see where we were at.
I don't know where you were.
I know. I got lost there during on the baseball talk.
Oh no.
Bobby, what is Nick's personal range projection for where Josh Simmons could go?
I mean, I think right now with the knee injury and everything, I'm curious to see who in the 20s would potentially take a chance on him. And then if nobody takes a chance in the first round, I would assume there's a team that'll strike pretty quickly there in the second round if they feel comfortable with where his knee's at. But, I mean, I would be surprised if he's there. I'd be surprised if he's anywhere past 45, personally.
I'd be super surprised. I mean, I'm increasing as even as a guy who, like, originally I said I wouldn't take probably in the first or second round because of the knee concerns. I mean, that's a little bit less now, but I mean, just because of people I've heard from, I can't imagine him not going in the first round, especially now that the NFL has drafted him. So I assume he's going.
The NFL makes mistakes, man. There's people they bring to, and then they're sitting in that green room in Kansas City and elsewhere year after year.
It happens.
There's a guy named Geno Smith that sat in that green room when the Chiefs were the first overall pick for till day 2.
Well, there is that. So
they do.
I mean, it's not a 100% record.
Yeah,
but going back to the Chiefs Kingdom podcast, guys, what is the most important position that the Chiefs need to hit on in this draft, and why is it running back, Nick?
Yeah, I already said they gotta come out with a running back in this draft and pass rush. Ideally, I'd love to see corner too, but running back, pass rush, get those two.
I can't say it better myself. You guys have hit on it. So, I mean, I still wouldn't take a running back in the first round, and I think if they did, there would be a lot of pushback, but I would definitely address running back. Well, I guess you have to do it in the first 4 rounds for the most part if you really want to get the guys that you want, especially if you want Brashard Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see here. Oh, there we go. It was a baseball movie was our last question before we got into the super chats and the Pro Bowl going to Hawaii. Sorry, everyone. You have to put up with my nonsense of trying to scroll through the comments and find the questions. Rick clarifying, I just wanted Nick to tell me how incredibly smart I am and how good I am at spotting talent just like him.
But if I tell you that, then you have nothing else to chase in life, Rick. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I tell you that, then you can't chase that anymore. You can't make that happen. So, I mean, I gotta keep giving you something to strive for, Rick.
Jackie with a good question here. Does the off the field stuff and stories of Nolan walking out of practices scare you, or just chalk it up on being young and immature?
Look, I mean, I'm aware of that out there in the Bob McGinn article and everything, but that's where the Chiefs do their due diligence, and that's where NFL teams do their due diligence, and they find out what exactly is going on there, what happened, why that happened. You talk to the player directly and find out those answers, and then you rank them wherever you want on the board at that point. So here's the thing. I mean, like, we can say, are you nervous about this? Are you scared about that? The Chiefs are going to do what the Chiefs are going to do. Like, all I can do is put together a draft board and say, hey, here's what I would do in their shoes. Here's what I see on tape. There may be some guys they take. There may be guys they take that aren't on the board, as there are every single year, and that's fine. It happens. People hold over my head like they did years whenever I started the board because people wanted a board. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're gonna react to what they end up doing and go, and go from there. It's just like I don't let what they do impact my feelings in my life on a regular basis. So that's what I'm getting at.
And I sort of had this conversation earlier today with our friend Ryan Tracy over at Locked On Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs, let's face it, they have a certain policy on red flags and character flags. They will overlook a lot of things. I mean, they've taken players that they knew had some things in their background that there were some questions about. Travis Kelce being chief amongst them. I mean, Travis was obviously nothing violent or serious, and nothing that no, we're talking about. No one hears that either. But Travis was self-admittedly a knucklehead in college, and it certainly sounds like Nolan has probably done a few knucklehead things. The Chiefs don't have being a knucklehead as a disqualifying factor for having someone on their draft board. This day and age, with Brett Veach, with Andy Reid, in this era of Chiefs football, the one disqualifying factor that you can have being on their board is being an a-hole as a teammate. And if I should probably be putting up the disclaimer here for Nick, but just saying, if that's the only disqualifying factor, being a bad teammate and being somebody who's going to make people miserable around the building and disrupt the chemistry of the locker room is really the biggest disqualifying factor that they have. Maybe the only disqualifying factor that they have. So, hey, if you're a knucklehead making knucklehead decisions, but your coaches say that you work hard, you're a good kid, you're a good teammate, your teammates speak highly of you, the Chiefs will certainly see things like that as being something that they can coach out of a kid, that he'll grow up out of. They certainly believe that with Travis. They decided Travis was, going to grow out of being a knucklehead. And obviously, Andy Reid being around his brother probably helped him in making that decision that he was going to stop being a knucklehead at some point. And to Travis's credit, by his 30s, he stopped being a knucklehead. But I mean, that's like I said, I mean, that's the biggest disqualifying factor. The Chiefs will overlook a lot of things, and they believe that they can fix things, maybe at times believing that they can fix things that they can't fix, or perhaps don't fix as well as they think that they do. But as long as you're not a jerk that makes everybody miserable, they're gonna give you a chance.
I'm gonna see if you go to the hot button. Let's see if you can find the Easter egg of the hot button.
I don't know. There's a comment that I wanted to go to, but I'm just not sure that I can because of the username. So I apologize to you, but I will say that Blue Chips is an awesome movie. So
I'm just waiting to see if you find the Easter egg or not.
Dang. Uncle Charlie, don't you think the show is a little harsh on the O-line coach? In the AFC West, the starting left tackles are all first-rounders in Bowles, Miller, and Slater.
Matt found the hot button.
That's the Easter egg?
Yep.
Okay.
So, here's what I'm going to say to you, Uncle Charlie. Jeff Statlin's been the offensive line coach of the Philadelphia Eagles for 13 years. In that time, he has had 3 different head coaches, different offensive schemes during that time. They've won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different head coaches. So there's that front. And Statlin's arguably one of the longest tenured offensive line coaches in the NFL. You know who else has been in the same run time as Jeff Statlin? He's a man by the name of Andy Heck. 13 years as well. He has had the Chiefs offensive line. He's been with Andy Reid the entire time. Andy Reid and him have been together. They've had that scheme collectively the entire time during all 13 of those years. So in that time, it isn't like Andy Heck hasn't been able to develop. It isn't like Corey Mate, who's also been there with him, haven't been able to develop offensive linemen, haven't been able to find the offensive linemen, haven't been able to communicate with the scouting department. Hey, this is what we want quality-wise. This is what fits us. This is what we would like. Can we get these things over time? And then you've had 13 years for that to be in, as good a shape as it can be, to where, like somebody that's cooking up a meal, maybe your mom or grandma or somebody in your family that makes this special meal, and they've got it perfected because they've been able to do it practice-wise for over, 13 years, maybe longer. So what I'm getting at here at the end of the day, you can bring up the left tackles at all the other AFC West teams, but you know what those teams don't have that the Chiefs do? The expectation of playing the AFC Championship in the Super Bowl. That's the price you pay to be on a team that has Patrick Mahomes and has the success that they do. You are supposed to raise elevate the standard of who you are and who you're supposed to be. So that's great. I don't care what the heck the rest of the NFL does at left tackle. what you are focused on right here and why you're listening to this Q&A right now is because what can the Chiefs do to get better? What can the Chiefs do to continue their dynasty? What can they do? You know what they can't do right now? They can't finish a three-peat. They got to start from scratch all over again. All that work that they did to get to a three-peat and to have it fail the way that it did and in the epic proportion that it did because of a problem that shouldn't have been there to begin with, that's where the real tragedy is in the whole thing. So, if you want to say we're being harsh on the O-line coach, okay, you go right ahead. But you want to know what? They keep investing. They keep spending money at that spot. They keep spending draft picks at that spot, and it's not working out. So they better figure it out, or there's going to be a lot of wasted years for Patrick Mahomes, and that'll be a bigger problem headed into his 30s whenever you don't heal as quickly. But people keep liking to ask me every single week about Andy Heck. I keep having to beat that dead horse, and here we are again for another week.
The quote Nick's favorite Christmas movie, Hallelujah, where's the Tylenol? I was going to go, I was trying to find the banner for Nick's rants. I don't have the banner anymore. I do have fun facts with Nick, though. I thought about putting that up, but it didn't seem to set the right tone.
I don't like talking about Andy Heck. I really don't. Like
Right.
I made my point months ago. Like I don't want to keep talking about it, but yet we keep.
All right, next week I'm making the pledge, folks. Making the pledge. Next week is an Andy Heck free zone.
It's not going to happen.
We're just not taking any questions on Andy Heck next week. You can ask him, folks. We're just not going to talk about it next week. We're going to talk about the draft, and we're going to be positive, and we're going to have fun. We're just going to roll with it. We're not going to dwell on the negatives and everything next week. Next week we're just going to celebrate draft week and have a party and a celebration and just enjoy the greatness of draft week.
Pano's coming in strong at 9:05.
Uh-oh. Let's go. Let's go. Don't blame Andy Heck. It's all on Brett and his lousy picks and signings to shore up the O-line.
You know how many AFC championships and Super Bowls they've been to recently? Obviously, Brett Veach is doing something right. Otherwise, they would be 8-8 or worse, or 8-9 at this point, or something of that nature. So, at some point, you get paid to do a job. You either do the job or you can't do the job. I'm done. Done with talking about it.
Here was my comment during your remarks. So, I enjoyed it. The commenters enjoyed it, so
some did, some won't. The burner account of Uncle Charlie.
Jackie, do we know the official numbers for McDuffie and Karlaftis' fifth-year option? We do, and I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. Nick, is it 14-2 for McDuffie?
I don't know. It's under. I'm not too worried about it right now.
I'm just trying to give Jackie the answer.
Hasn't been top of mind for me, Matt.
That he so justly deserves. I'm just looking it up here to see, because I think it's 14-2-ish for McDuffie. Of course, it's not listed there, so I need to look somewhere else. Let's see. And they have until May 1st to pick those up. So, they'll be happening right after the draft. For whatever reason, I can't find it right now. And watching me search the internet is not the most enjoyable thing in the world. I think it's 14-2 for McDuffie, and I think it's around 11 for Karlaftis. I could be wrong on both of those, but I think it's around there. I could be wrong. 8 Men Out and 42 are both great movies, yes. Mitchell is out of draft questions. Looking at next season's schedule, he sees 8 losses. Is he being too pessimistic?
I don't know how the schedule is going to stack right now and don't know what they're going to do in the draft. So until those things happen, I do not know.
Well,
I do
I think
not
you're being
know.
too pessimistic, Mitchell, because I can't imagine
I do
how
not know.
I can't imagine how the schedule is going to shake out that I would have this team going 9-8. So I'm just saying. We're starting positive here already. Best Hawaiian Chiefs player. Maui Bro going with Kavika Mitchell. I can't think of anybody better, Nick. I mean,
I'm gonna see if he's from this area. I don't remember if he is or not.
I know I was trying to pull up the list of. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Trying to think if there's anybody else on this list that's jumping out at me that have been Chiefs players.
For Neo, who's asking if I can name some cornerbacks, go back and listen to our most recent 41 is a Mike podcast where we break down every cornerback where I like and where they may go. So that'll be in 41 is the Mike from this past Sunday.
Did you find your player, Nick? Was he?
He's born in San Diego, California, so no.
Well, and I mean, I guess he is Hawaiian, but Kavika Mitchell was also born in Florida, so he's not on the list of like native Hawaiians. But looking at the list of native Hawaiians, I think, if I'm not mistaken, your top qualifier from the Chiefs might be Josh Maga.
Maybe.
I mean, he played 59 games in the NFL, and he was a good player for the Chiefs. So there you go. Whoops.
Mitchell, the T-shirt says Roman Empire State of Mind.
There you go.
Mitchell, that's going to be Mitchell's unique question every week. What's the T-shirt say? Mitchell, I'm gonna wear a blank T-shirt one day, or I'm just gonna rotate my T-shirt inside out, so it'll say nothing.
One day I'll wear a T-shirt with something on it, so then people can ask me to.
There you go, Matt. Join the club.
Do you think there's even from Rick the slightest chance that the Chiefs would go after Luther Burden?
I mean, it's possible, but I don't. I think they've. I'd like to believe they're more locked in on trying to get that pass rush handled.
I believe they are. I think I'm accepting the fact that the Chiefs, if he were available, would probably not take Luther Burden over shoring up the defensive line. So I hate to accept it, but I think I have to move on and accept that Luther Burden is not going to be a Chief, and it's a sad day, but I'm accepting it and trying to move forward.
Look at you, Matt. So proud of you.
I know, and we've got overtime here, Nick. I mean, it's 9:12, and you haven't looked at your watch yet to be like, why am I still here? Are there any more questions left? I mean, this is final call, folks. We're issuing final call. It is 9:12 after all. So, I mean, what's this pessimism here? Jesus, even, do you guys think the Chiefs will not win the West this season? The West may have the best coaches. I mean, it is going to be tougher with these coaches, although I still think the Raiders are going to stink no matter what Pete Carroll does. And the draft could change things, but if Sean Payton gets who he wants in Denver, I do worry about the Broncos a little bit more.
Broncos certainly could be tougher after next weekend.
There is one still potential problem with the Broncos. Bo Nix. I don't know what Bo Nix is.
We'll find out in the years ahead, Matt.
Oh dear, you guys are the best commenters in the world. Here you go, David, doing my job for me. Defensive end 15.1, corner 13.6. So I was a little off on McDuffie and a lot off on Karlaftis. So I need to do better at my job. No doubt about it. All right. I mean, Dan Saliamua, was not Hawaiian, right? He was Samoan.
He was born in San Diego, so
Okay, that's who you were thinking of.
That was who I checked on. Yes,
I mean, definitely in the poly community. So I would assume that Dan Saliamua is in the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame. There is a Polynesian Football Hall of Fame, by the way, in case you did not know. So
yes, he is in the Polynesian Hall of Fame. He got inducted in 2019.
See, nailed it. Last call, Nikki question. What is wrong with you people? Of course the Chiefs will win the West. Not really a question as much as I guess that is a statement, Nick, but what is wrong with you people is a question. Is there anything wrong with these people who thinks that the Chiefs, if people are doubting the Chiefs going into 2025?
Do what?
Is there anything wrong with Chiefs fans doubting the Chiefs going into 2025?
For some Chiefs fans, their trust was broken in the Super Bowl. And until they get back out on that football field and help renew their faith again, there will have some doubters. Just the way it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. Jesus, we won't be live on draft night, but we will be up very well as quickly as we can be after the first round. It will probably be late, so it'll be after midnight. I know that. Always is after midnight on, I guess. Oh, well, always. I mean, this is going to be what? Is it our second draft, Nick?
I don't know.
I can't keep track. I just know based on experience that yes, on Thursday and Friday nights, we will be probably recording after midnight. So if you're a super night owl, you will get the podcast in the wee hours of the morning, but otherwise it will be the first thing you listen to the next morning. And you can be that much smarter when you go into work and tell everybody what you think of the Chiefs draft.
That's true. Yes. Cause I'm busy doing shows. I got a 6:30 show and I've got a 10:30 show on Thursday and Friday at my job that pays me my monies and my health insurance and my 401k. That I have responsibilities there on Thursday and Friday, 6:30 and 10:30, and then I have a 6:30 show on Saturday. So I will be doing that live. That'll be live for me.
And that is not to say that I might not have some live snaps and hits and everything from One Arrowhead Drive. I'll try to get you some live video of things as they are going on with the press conferences like we did last year. But there might even be just to be able to get you up a couple of video updates to show you what's going on behind the scenes at Chiefs headquarters, just to kind of give you, I'm going to try to give you a taste of what goes on draft night. Although, I mean, admittedly, the best stuff that goes on draft night is the food, Nick. So,
and I will not be a part of any of that, Matt. So thanks for reminding me. It's very kind of you.
Well, I can save something for you and bring it by the station. So,
that'll be late. And I'll already be headed home waiting for you to leave.
You might actually, I could drop by your house and just drop it off on my way home. See?
Yeah, no.
Hey, Jackie, if I could get in, if they would allow me to the war room, I'd definitely get you a video of the war room, but they would tackle me before I got there. So,
as they should. As they should, Matt.
All right, last question tonight for you, Nick. Have you ever seen 4 better coaches in a division than what the AFC West has right now?
I'm sure I have. I just don't have it off the top of mind right now.
I'm sure there was a year of, I'm trying to think about the NFC East where you would have probably, would you have had Joe Gibbs in there with Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells at one point in time? And then
maybe
Rich Kotite or whoever was with the Eagles. I mean, then the Eagles would have been the one dragging it down at that point. All right.
There was at one point where, there's one point where you had Harbaugh, Pete Carroll. I don't remember who else.
I'm looking up one thing and then that's it.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. Well, back then I forgot it was a 5-team division, so you would have had the Phoenix Cardinals in the NFC East as well. And yes, in 1992, Rich Kotite was the coach of the Eagles. Joe Gibbs was in Washington. Jimmy Johnson was in Dallas. Ray Handley was in New York. So no, that season would not qualify. Okay, 1990, Bill Parcells. And Jimmy would, I think, already have been there. Yeah, right? Because he got there in 89. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson. We're looking good. Joe Gibbs would have been in Washington. Am I driving you crazy yet, Nick?
So 2013, the one I'm talking about was Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, Bruce Arians, and Jeff Fisher. It was pretty legit back then. The worst record was 7-9 that year.
All right, 1990 in the NFC East, you had Joe Gibbs, Bill Parcells, Jimmy Johnson, Buddy Ryan, and Joe Buchel. How's that for a list of coaches?
Sounds good, Matt.
Somehow I feel like that you're mocking me.
It's 9:20, bud.
All right, everybody. I'm going to let Nick get out of here, and I'm going to join him because it is 9:20, and I've apparently had too much sucralose today. So, everyone, next week, as I told everybody at the top of the show, and Nick has already kind of alluded to, we're going to have 4 episodes of 41 is the Mic coming your way in an 8-day period between Sunday when we do our final look at the draft and we present to you what we think the Chiefs will do. Then Thursday and Friday night, we will have post-draft action coming up. And like I said, you'll probably, unless you're a night owl, you will probably have that in your feeds first thing in the morning on Friday and Saturday. And then Saturday evening, we will do to wrap up the entire draft. Or no, we're doing that Sunday. I forget. We're doing that Sunday. So that's the 8-day period aspect. So Sunday, we will wrap up everything that went on over draft weekend. So there's your 4 episodes of 41 is the Mic over an 8-day period. Plus, we'll do the live Q&A on Tuesday. Next week, unfortunately, we will not have time for Matt Damon, though. So
I hate when that happens.
It's tough break. Thank you all for joining us this week. Appreciate you for sticking in there with us and making. We've been here a while, Nick. So
you've been here a lot longer than I have.
When will your draft board be available for everyone to go find it? KSHB 41.
We'll find out, Matt. That's why I'm trying to get off here so I can get stuff done.
All right, we're gonna let Nick go. We're gonna call it a wrap so he can go get the board done. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a great week, and don't forget, hit the likes, hit the bells. Subscribe, like, sign, all those things. We appreciate you helping everybody find Chiefs Digest on YouTube, and 41 is the Mic podcast. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll be back with you on Sunday.